What follows isn't a routine talk about kindness or unconditional love. It is a rigorous exploration of the human mind, unveiling a truth Carl Jung, one of history's foremost psychologists, arrived at after decades of probing the soul. If you've ever sensed your kindness backfiring your nobility, being misread as frailty, or that the more you give, the less you get, this message will explain the reason. Have you ever felt your kindness turned against you? Comment 1. If you've given so much that it left you drained. Comment 2. If you've started to hold back because of past pain. Jung observed a troubling pattern evident across his patients. People convinced they were very good often suffered the most. Yet, what does goodness actually entail? Modern culture has crafted a glamorized ideal, ever available, never refusing, quick to forgive, and perpetually self-effacing. Jung concluded, this picture of goodness is not only mistaken, but perilous. When kindness is equated with self-erasure, and love is defined as boundarylessness, we end up executing ourselves. Jung found something profoundly disquieting. The harder we strive for perfect goodness, the more potent our shadow grows. This is the concealed side we deny and suppress beneath layers of forced pleasantness. It's like holding a ball under water. The greater the pressure, the stronger it surges up. Imagine kindness as a bright lamp. Society tells us to keep it lit by switching off everything else: our anger, our needs, our limits. Jung recognized the flaw. Genuine kindness doesn't arise from self-denial, but from accepting every facet of ourselves. How often has an inner voice whispered, "Enough," only for you to mute it? Because a good person wouldn't think that. How many times have you entombed your anger, frustration, and hurt, believing they diminish your worth? Each time you exile these parts, you don't improve, you fracture further. This isn't a call to abandon kindness. It's an invitation to wake from naive kindness and reshape it into something deeper, sturdier, and more complete. True kindness is not the absence of darkness. It is the capacity to integrate all we are into a coherent whole. What follows may unsettle the foundations of your beliefs about goodness and challenge long-held ideas about love, sacrifice, and authenticity. Yet if you dare to listen and question old assumptions, you will discover a liberating truth. Real kindness doesn't make you weak. It empowers you. It doesn't deplete you. It replenishes you. It doesn't shrink you. It makes you entire. This is the stark, yet honest wisdom Jung passed on. To be genuinely good, we must first be genuinely whole. And that path begins by confronting the shadows we've struggled to deny. When Jung spoke of the shadow, he did not mean a mere abstraction or symbol. He referred to a real psychological force. We all bear a side. We are trained to fear, suppress, and disown. It is where we stash what we deem unacceptable: our anger, our deepest longings, our right to refuse, our need to be recognized. For those who see themselves as intrinsically kind, the shadow is terrifying. Their identity relies on being the light, always helpful, unfailing, constantly present. The idea of a dark side fills them with dread, as though acknowledging it would topple their entire self-concept. This denial, however, exacts a high price. When we disown the shadow and act as if it isn't there, it gathers strength and slips beyond control, like attempting to dam a river with bare hands. It will eventually burst through. Repressed energy does not vanish. It contorts, mutates, and surfaces in unruly forms. Those who are excessively kind feel it in quiet but corrosive ways, resentment after aiding someone who never reciprocates wordless fury when others breach unspoken limits, and profound sorrow upon realizing their own needs go unseen. The harder we chase perfect goodness, the more exposed we are to our own shadow, a paradox. Suppress your anger, and it leaks out as passive aggression. Deny your need for recognition, and it turns into covert manipulation. Insist you need nothing, and you become an emotional vampire, draining others, without realizing it. Jung maintains that the shadow is not an adversary, but a vital region of the psyche. It contains not only our undesirable tendencies, but our untapped strength, our capacity to set sound boundaries and to defend ourselves when necessary. By disowning it, we forfeit not only darkness, but a portion of our light. Picture a person who has always been the good one, taught that anger is wrong. Limits are selfish, and their needs are secondary. They do not merely repress anger, they stifle personal power, the right to say no, to occupy space. Their kindness hardens into a prison of their own making. Have you been the good one in your relationships or family? Comment 1 if you felt trapped by always having to be the peacemaker. Comment 2 if you've recently started reclaiming your space and voice. Jung recognized this as counterfeit kindness fear, dressed up as virtue, fear of rejection, of conflict, of inadequacy. The truly kind are not those who never feel anger or never set limits, but those who have integrated all their parts into a coherent whole. When faced and welcomed, the shadow turns into a reservoir of strength. It is like a dim garden. If we enter, we encounter not only fears, but our deepest capacities. There, naive kindness matures into deliberate wisdom. For Jung, authentic spiritual labor does not eradicate the shadow. It learns to move with it. This means honoring anger as no less sacred than love, valuing boundaries as much as generosity, and affirming the need for recognition as fully as the urge to give. Such recognition is the first step toward a more authentic, potent kindness. Understanding the shadow is not an enemy, but a long-neglected part of you, awaiting acknowledgement and respect. When you finally meet it, you may discover that what you feared is precisely what you needed to become whole. Unexamined kindness exacts a price paid not only in emotional depletion, but in postponed dreams, lopsided relationships, and a life lived by halves. It manifests as chronic tiredness in the perpetual giver, the quiet frustration of the self-silenced, and the profound loneliness of those unseen by people all around them. Consider the person whose identity is self-sacrifice. They relinquish more than time and effort. They surrender essential parts of themselves whenever they neglect their needs for others, hush their voice to maintain peace, or say yes while their soul shouts no. They pay in fragments of their very essence. Today's martyr bears no literal crown of thorns. Their pain appears as sleepless nights, over others' troubles, relationships in which they give far more than they receive, and calendars packed so tightly with obligations that no room remains for themselves. Society not only tolerates, but applauds this, missing the profound self-neglect beneath the veneer of nobility. Jung noted that such self-sacrifice often traces back to childhood. Perhaps you were the peacekeeping good child, or learned that worth hinged on usefulness to others. These early scripts harden into unseen chains that tether us to self-defeating habits. Relationships for the blindly kind unfold predictably. They serve as confident solace and steadfast support. Yet, when they ask for help, they encounter a hollow silence. Others grow so used to receiving that reciprocation never occurs to them. It is a singular loneliness being known for your kindness, but not for your heart. The weariness of relentless giving is more than bodily. It is a soul-deep fatigue that saps energy and the zest for life. It resembles a slow spiritual dying, as one loses contact with personal dreams, desires, and needs, becoming an empty vessel, existing chiefly to meet others' demands. Such imbalance breeds a toxic pattern. The kind person grows indispensable to others while fading from their own view. It is codependency, masquerading as virtue, really a prison of one's own making. They become a mere resource, gradually forfeiting their humanity. The harsh irony is that excessive kindness injures not only the giver, but the intended beneficiaries. By perpetually rescuing, remaining perpetually available, and shielding others from consequences, the chronically kind inadvertently stunt the very people they hope to help. This pattern not only exhausts, it cultivates resentment, the rancor of one who gave everything and received nothing, who showed up for all, yet finds no one when support is needed. Buried beneath layers of niceness, that resentment turns into a slow-acting toxin that infiltrates every relationship. This is the true price of unexamined kindness. We lose more than energy, time, and calm. We drift from our core self, our deepest longings, and our capacity to set sound boundaries. We turn into watered-down versions of who we are, living largely to meet others' needs. Integrating the shadow is neither easy nor comfortable. It requires bravery, candor, and a readiness to confront what we've avoided. It's like switching on a light in a room long kept dark. The first sights may disturb us, yet only through clear seeing can we organize and transform. The work begins by admitting that overkindness often serves as avoidance. We sidestep conflict, rejection, and potential judgment. Beneath each excessive gesture lies a core fear, not being loved as our true selves. Real change calls for a specific courage, being willing to disappoint those accustomed to our constant availability. It's like revising an unseen pact we've honored for years. The old deal was, I'll be everything you need, and in return, you'll love me. The new agreement is, I'll be authentic, even if that means I won't always please you. Shadow integration does not make us harsh or numb. It cultivates a stronger, truer kindness. It's the contrast between a fragile flame, easily snuffed out, and a steady fire that warms and illuminates without burning itself up. We reach true integration when we honor boundary setting as equally sacred to generosity. The power born of this wholeness differs from cruelty. Cruelty springs from fear, frailty, and a drive to dominate. Genuine power from integrating the shadow grows out of self-acceptance and standing in truth without overpowering anyone. The mature kindness that follows is like a deeply rooted tree. It proves strength through steadiness, offers shelter when fitting, and keeps natural boundaries without apologizing for its place in the world. Those who arrive at integration find a striking paradox. The more they embrace their darkness, the more authentically kind they are. They give by deliberate choice, not from fear or compulsion. Their generosity rises from fullness, not lack. Their compassion is grounded in strength, not weakness. This way of living requires ongoing fidelity to authenticity. It asks us to acknowledge anger when it appears, and to use it as a compass, showing where boundaries were breached. It also means accepting that we must sometimes say no, and that such a no can be as sacred as any yes we have given. Integration includes recognizing that the shadow isn't wholly negative. Inside what we feared are potent gifts, discernment, intuition about others' intentions, and a fierce capacity to defend what we hold sacred. The kindness born of integration is discerning. It knows when to offer and when to refrain, when to approach and when to keep distance. It does not spill out aimlessly. It moves with intention and awareness, honoring giver and receiver alike, and treating boundaries as mutual respect. This shift changes how we move through life. We stop being the candle that consumes itself to light others' paths and become a lighthouse, radiating our own beam and guiding without exhaustion. Our kindness grows stronger precisely because it no longer seeks everyone's approval or love. Real shadow integration lets us practice kindness from wholeness, not from fear of being otherwise. It includes strength, limits the capacity to say no, and the willingness to disappoint when needed. At its heart, it is kindness grounded in truth, not fear. Establishing healthy boundaries. Something Jung regarded as essential to psychological growth can feel like self-betrayal for those whose identity is built on endless kindness. Here, ancient wisdom is crucial. Boundaries aren't walls that separate. They are sacred lines, marking where we end and others begin. The capacity to set boundaries begins with a radical act recognizing our inherent worth, not value earned by giving, but an inner dignity that exists because we are. This recognition isn't selfish. It is basic psychological honesty. When we genuinely value ourselves, our mode of relating changes. We stop trying to earn existence through overgoodness and recognize reciprocity as a psychological necessity. Healthy relationships balance giving and receiving. What kind of relationships are you nurturing now? Comment 1 if you're learning to set healthy boundaries. Comment 2 if you're still figuring out how to balance giving and receiving. This insight reshapes our interactions. Permitting repeated boundary crossings harms us and deprives others of learning respect. True kindness holds firm limits, protecting our capacity to give and preserving the recipient's dignity. Those who master healthy boundaries face a paradox. Relationships may be fewer, yet they grow richer. Some will drift when we're no longer endlessly available. But those who remain are the ones who respect and value us as whole people. Boundary practice calls for a new emotional lexicon, distinguishing authentic from manufactured guilt and real responsibility from loads we never should have carried. It also requires honoring the limits and sanctity of our time, energy, and emotions. We cannot pour from an empty well. Boundaries ensure we can offer what's needed when it genuinely matters. Our kindness is best protected not by walls, but by prudent discernment about where, when, and with whom to share it. Like a well-kept garden, it needs clear edges and steady care to thrive. When we steward our energy and resources, well, our genuine kindness becomes stronger, not weaker. The alchemy of change begins when we let our light and shadow move together. It's like two streams joining to form something new, neither wholly bright nor purely dark, yielding a fresh power created through deliberate integration. This journey begins when we cease resisting our dual nature. Jung found that real transformation doesn't come from erasing our darker aspects, but from letting them teach us what we must learn. Anger indicates where boundaries belong. Resentment signals where we have overgiven. Sadness reveals places needing more care. From their integration, authentic strength arises like gold, refined in the fire of self-awareness. No longer brute aggression or weakness, masked as endless kindness, it becomes a tempered power, a power that discerns when to advance or retreat, when to offer or conserve, when to speak, and when to be silent. Those who achieve this integration carry a distinct presence. They need not prove goodness or power. They simply are. Authenticity becomes a shield, and truth their sword. They understand that real strength rests in self-mastery, not control of others. The wisdom born here resembles a contained flame. It can warm or burn depending on its use. At this stage, people know their power isn't for domination, but for safeguarding what's sacred, themselves included. They recognize that undiscerning kindness is as perilous as power stripped of compassion. This mode of living requires steady vigilance, grounded in awakened awareness, not fear. It's like tending a balanced garden. Some plants need sun, others shade, and both are vital. Likewise, we nourish light and shadow, knowing each is essential to our wholeness. The kindness produced by this alchemy is chosen, not driven by fear or guilt. It knows its worth, doesn't chase constant proof, can say no without guilt, and yes without resentment. At peace with its own shadow, it does not fear others' darkness. This transformation is ongoing, rather than final, a continual dance of light and shadow, power and compassion, giving and receiving. Each day offers new chances to refine the balance, and to choose to use our power for kindness, from strength, not fear. This inner alchemy spreads outward. By allowing ourselves to be whole, we implicitly permit others to do likewise, demonstrating that one can be both strong and kind, powerful and compassionate. We model a fuller humanity. Ultimately, we grasp that true kindness is not a straitjacket, but a liberating power. It is no mask for acceptance, but an authentic expression of our nature. In this state, power and compassion spring from the same source as light and shadow, cooperate to create more than either alone. The path outlined through Jung's wisdom is more than theory. It invites deep transformation. It begins when we accept that kindness need not be flawless to matter, power need not be feared to be respected, and wholeness includes both light and shadow. Jung shows that a truer, more potent life comes not from denying duality, but from consciously embracing it. By integrating the shadow and allowing power and kindness to coexist, we grow more complete and more able to craft the life we truly want. Now comes an invitation to turn inward and ask, which parts of yourself have you hidden to appear good? What power have you suppressed for fear of being less accepted? Which boundaries have you avoided setting because you feared disappointing others? Remember this: your kindness does not require perfection. Your worth is not measured by how much you give or sacrifice. Your power does not diminish your ability to love, and your boundaries never make you less deserving of love. The change Jung invites is not a finish line, but a continuing journey. Each day brings chances to choose authenticity over pleasing others, conscious power over weakness, masked as virtue, and genuine kindness over reflexive self-sacrifice. The world needs people who have integrated light and shadow, who know real goodness comes not from repression, but from conscious integration. It needs whole humans who embody both strength and compassion, who discern when to give and when to refrain, and who regard their boundaries as sacred alongside their capacity to love. As you finish this message, remember, you are not here to be perfect. You are here to be whole. In that wholeness, in integrating every part of you, you will find the strength to build the life you envision, and the wisdom to live it with authenticity and real power. Wholeness is not a slogan tacked onto the end of a difficult life. It's the quiet reallocation of power inside you. Everything you've read points to one movement: letting the candle that burns itself down become the lighthouse that stands. The difference is not brightness, but source. Wholeness means you stop holding the ball of anger underwater to look good. and start reading that pressure as information. Where was a boundary crossed? Where did you say yes while your chest said no? It means you stop damming the river with bare hands and begin carving a clean channel so the current of your life can move without flooding you or anyone else. This is what integration looks like on ordinary days. You feel the heat of resentment and treat it as a bell, not a verdict. You let sadness name a need instead of hiding it behind smiles. You practice a no that honors the giver and protects the gift. Nothing here demands harshness. The garden in the dark room you entered earlier is still a garden. You are not pulling up weeds with rage. You are learning where to place edges so the roses keep their shape. Boundaries in this frame are not punishments, but irrigation lines, clear roots that keep generosity from spilling into exhaustion. And generosity itself changes. It stops auditioning for love and begins flowing from fullness. You give because there is water in the well, and you rest because refilling the well is part of giving. The old pact, I will be everything you need so that I am safe, is replaced by a truer agreement. I will be honest, even when honesty disappoints. That honesty makes room for reciprocity. Some ties will loosen when the endless supply ends. The ties that remain become relationships, not arrangements. Power, then, is no longer the thing you feared in yourself or resented in others. It becomes the contained flame you described, before steady, warm, usable. United with compassion, it draws clear lines without hate and offers care without self-erasure. This union is the alchemy you named light, not warring with shadow, but working with it as two streams joining into one force. You do not stop being kind. You stop being porous. You do not stop giving. You stop leaking. And because you are whole, your presence answers the world's confusion without theatrics. The question shifts by itself from am I good to am I living from truth? When you can say yes to that, the next step in your path arrives already lit. The question is no longer whether you're good enough. It is whether you are ready to be truly powerful, not a power that dominates, but one that transforms. Not a power that fears the shadow, but one that integrates it to create something larger than ourselves. Where are you in your journey toward wholeness? Comment 1 if you're just beginning to explore your shadow. Comment 2 if you're actively integrating it and feeling more whole each day. If this resonated, please subscribe, turn on notifications, and share it with someone who may need it. Let's walk this path of transformation together.